Everyone remembers Junior Soprano as the man who shot Tony, the man who was boss in name only, the man who got old, got confused, and slowly forgot what decade he was living in. Ask most people what his tragedy was, and they'll give you the same answer. He lost power. He got outmaneuvered by his own nephew. He ended up in a psychiatric facility watching game shows. That's a reasonable answer. It's also completely wrong. Because Junior didn't just lose power, he had moments, real moments, where people actually loved him, where his nephew came to him with genuine respect, where a woman wanted to be with him, not because she had to, but because she chose to, where loyalty was offered freely with no strings attached, and he destroyed every single one of them. Not because he was stupid, not because he didn't feel it. So what was actually going on with this man? Here's the assumption most viewers make about Junior. He wanted to be boss because he wanted power. But watch the show again. What Junior actually wants in almost every scene is not control, it's dignity. He wants the room to go quiet when he walks in. He wants to feel that his life added up to something, that he wasn't just another aging man the world had stopped noticing. When Tony engineers Junior's appointment as boss of the DeMeo family, it looks like a gift, a throne, a title. Tony is giving his uncle something, except Tony is using Junior as a lightning rod, keeping him visible to the feds while Tony runs the actual operation from the shadows. And Junior knows this, maybe not consciously, but somewhere underneath the ceremony and the hand-kissing, he knows exactly what's happening. Which is strange, because a man who genuinely wanted power, who had any real appetite for control, would fight back. He'd maneuver, he'd find leverage. Junior doesn't do that. Not really. He accepts the arrangement. He performs the role. That tells you something. The title matters more to Junior than the actual authority behind it. He needs to be seen as the boss more than he needs to be the boss. Dignity, not power. Appearance, not substance. But that only deepens the question. Because if all Junior needed was to look respected, to have the room defer to him, to feel his life meant something, why did he keep destroying the exact people who gave him that? There's a scene early in the series that most people remember as a joke. Junior is sleeping with a woman named Bobbi Sanfilippo. She clearly enjoys his company. She laughs at his jokes. She seems to genuinely like who he is. Not the mob boss, not the title, just the man. And then it comes out that she mentioned something private to a friend, something intimate. Specifically, that Junior performs a particular act that most men in his world would consider beneath them. Junior ends the relationship, not quietly. He throws a pie in her face and walks away. On the surface, it reads as ego, a mob guy protecting his image. Predictable, even funny. But look at what actually happened. Bobbi wasn't mocking him. She was proud of him. She was telling someone, this man is different than you'd think. The version of Junior she was sharing wasn't the dangerous one. It was the tender one, the one only she got to see. And Junior experienced that as a betrayal. Now, that's odd. Most people, when someone speaks well of them in private, feel closer to that person. Junior felt threatened. He didn't just pull back, he attacked. Bobbi is also the only woman in the entire series where we see Junior truly relax. The relationship he ended wasn't just companionship, it was probably the closest thing to happiness he had. He knew that. He still walked away. So it isn't that Junior values reputation over relationships. It's something stranger than that. Being known, being genuinely seen, produces in him not warmth but alarm, like a wire tripped. But why? What does being seen actually cost him? Junior grew up watching men get destroyed by the things they loved. In the DeMeo family, attachment was tactical information. If someone knew what mattered to you, they knew exactly where to aim. It wasn't a philosophical lesson. It was just reality. Demonstrated repeatedly for decades. The men who lasted were the ones who needed the least, the ones who could walk away from anything. Junior didn't just learn this. He built his entire identity around it. The sharpness, the sarcasm, the way he rolls his eyes at anything sentimental. It feels like personality, but really it's protection. If you present nothing soft, there's nothing to hit. If you don't need anyone, no one has leverage over you. This reframes the Bobbi situation completely. Junior didn't punish her because he was embarrassed. He punished her because she had acquired something, knowledge of who he actually was behind the performance, that he hadn't authorized her to have. But she hadn't taken it. He'd given it to her without realizing, by simply letting himself be happy around her. And in the logic Junior had spent 60 years building, that was a dangerous mistake, one that needed to be corrected. This is also what makes his relationship with Tony so much more painful than a power struggle. Tony genuinely admired Junior, not as a boss, as a man. There's a version of that relationship, a version that was available to both of them, where Tony looks to his uncle the way he always wanted to look at his father, with real trust, with love that wasn't conditional on usefulness. Junior got close to that, and when he felt it happening, when Tony started to actually matter to him, he ordered the hit. Not because Tony was a threat, because Tony was becoming someone Junior couldn't afford to lose. And in Junior's world, that meant Tony had leverage. The only way to neutralize that was to remove him. He tried to kill his nephew because caring about Tony had become dangerous. Think about that for a second, because it raises a question the show never quite answers directly. Was Junior always like this? Or did something happen that made it impossible for him to fix things once they went wrong? Most people, when they damage a relationship badly enough, eventually face a moment of reckoning. They apologize. They reach back out. They find some way, however awkward, to signal, I know what I did. I want to find a way through it. Junior never does this. Not once in the entire series, and it's tempting to read that as arrogance. The pride of a mob boss who doesn't bow to anyone. But watch him more carefully. It isn't arrogance. It's something closer to a missing faculty. Tony has therapy. He can, at least in theory, name what he feels. He can sit across from Melfi and say, I think I did something wrong. Junior has no equivalent. Not even a private one. There is no interior process by which Junior Soprano could move from I hurt someone to I should try to fix it. The psychological pathway simply doesn't exist. His generation, his world, his entire conception of what a man was, none of it gave him words for I was wrong, or I need you, or I'm sorry I couldn't be what you deserved. To say those sentences would require him to get smaller, to admit fault, to hand someone, even briefly, a position above him. Which means every relationship Junior damages stays damaged. Every door he closes stays closed. Not because he doesn't feel the loss, but because he has no move available to him except to keep walking forward and not look back. So here's what we have. A man who needs dignity more than power, who experiences being known as a threat, who has arranged his entire life to ensure no one has leverage over him, who, when relationships break, has no mechanism to repair them. That's 4 separate things, and they don't fully connect yet, until you look at what happens to him at the very end. By the final season, Junior has lost his mind. He doesn't always know where he is. He mistakes people for men who died decades ago. He wanders through memories with no chronology, no sequence, no narrative. Most viewers read this as tragedy, the cruelty of aging, a disease stripping a man of the one thing he had left, his sense of himself. But dementia doesn't take everything from Junior Soprano. It takes the armor. The act is gone. The scorekeeping is gone. The habit of keeping everyone at arm's length is gone. What remains is something the actual Junior Soprano would never have permitted. A man who needs other people, and for the first time in his life can't hide that fact. He is doing, in those moments, the exact things he spent his whole life refusing to do. And now the 4 things finally connect. The hunger for dignity, the terror of being known, the leverage logic, the inability to repair. They were never 4 separate problems. They were all different ways of avoiding the same thing, vulnerability. To most people, being vulnerable is uncomfortable. To Junior, it felt dangerous. Every relationship he destroyed because the alternative, being genuinely seen, felt like standing in front of a loaded gun. Every rule Junior lived by solved the same problem. Keep people at a distance, stay in control, never let anyone get close enough to hurt you. And Bobbi, she wasn't a casualty of his pride. She was the person who got close enough that the alarm went off, the one who saw the tender version of him, the one he hadn't meant to show, and instead of using it against him, simply loved it. That was supposed to be safe, but it was the most terrifying thing that had ever happened to him. So he destroyed it. He destroyed every version of love that got close enough to be real, and then he ran out of time. Because here's what dementia actually does to Junior Soprano if you follow it all the way through. It doesn't take his dignity. It takes the thing that was preventing him from receiving love. The armor didn't just fall. It was removed by a disease that had no idea what it was doing. And what's left underneath is a man who can finally need someone, who can reach out, who can accept warmth without calculating the cost. But the people are gone. The relationships are rubble. Tony hasn't forgiven him. Bobbi is long past caring, and that's what makes the final scene so strange. Because by then, the thing Junior spent his entire life protecting is already gone. Near the very end of the series, Tony visits Junior one last time. He asks a simple question. Does he remember their life together? The family? Any of it? Junior, somewhere inside the fog, says he doesn't. He doesn't remember. Most viewers take that as the cruelest possible ending. The man who wanted so badly to matter, wiped clean. But consider what memory actually was to Junior Soprano. Memory was how he kept score. It was the infrastructure of his entire self. Who had wronged him? Who owed him respect? Who still needed to be taught a lesson? Who had leverage over him and had to be watched? The self Junior spent his entire life protecting wasn't really a person. It was a ledger. An elaborate, exhausting, load-bearing ledger. Without the memory, the ledger disappears. No score to settle, no debt to collect, no insult to remember. Just a man sitting in a room watching a game show. Not in pain. Just finally not at war with himself. The tragedy of Junior Soprano isn't that he lost everything. It's that the only way he could ever find peace was to forget that he'd spent a lifetime refusing it.